You ever think about what it would be like if someone just blinked out of existence? I mean, 1 minute they're here, going about their day, and the next they're just gone. Today we're diving into some of the most deeply unsettling missing person cases out there. Stories where the facts seem to completely defy logic, leaving behind nothing but a giant question mark. So get this, in the United States alone, about 1,600 new missing person cases get filed every single day. Now, thankfully, the vast majority of those do get solved. It ends up being a runaway or a simple misunderstanding, or, sadly, a tragic but explainable event. But this explainer? We're talking about the others. The ones where the trail doesn't just go cold, it feels like it was never there to begin with. And that's the real kicker, right? What do you do when the few clues you do find just make the whole situation even more impossible to wrap your head around? It's like a rabbit hole of pure confusion, and our first case is the perfect example of that. Okay, let's head to Plainsview, Arkansas, back in 1995. This is the story of David Lamb, a man who literally vanished in the middle of a totally normal chore, leaving behind a scene that feels like something straight out of a glitch in the Matrix. So when David's wife Pamela got home from work, this is what she saw. The lawn was only half mowed. The lawnmower was just sitting there in the middle of the yard, chugging away, still running. But David, he was gone. Inside the house, his keys and his wallet were sitting right there on the table. It was as if he was just plucked out of thin air, mid-stride.
And this right here is the piece of the puzzle that makes this case so baffling: the dead man switch. Since 1982, it's been mandatory on all new lawnmowers in the US. The idea is simple. If you let go of the handle, the engine cuts out instantly. So, how in the world could David's mower still be running if no one was there holding the handle?
Well, investigators have kicked around a few ideas. Could he have had some kind of medical emergency and just wandered off? It's possible, I guess, but Plainsview is a really small town. You'd think someone would have found him. Okay, what about an abduction? That theory only works if the mower was some old model from before '82. And then, of course, you have the possibility that his wife wasn't telling the truth about the mower. It's a common angle in these cases, but there's just no hard evidence to back it up. Every theory just seems to open up a new can of worms.
All right, our next story takes us back a bit further, to 1972 in Verona, Missouri. This is about Christine Seal, a young mother who vanished from her mobile home on a quiet morning, leaving almost nothing behind.
The timeline here is just chillingly narrow. Her husband, Lynn, heads off to work at 8 a.m. An hour and a half later, the mailman spots their 2-year-old son just standing there alone inside. And only 15 minutes after that, Lynn comes home for a quick break and finds that terrifying scene. Later, police dogs tracked Christine's scent from the house right to the edge of the driveway, and then, poof, it just stopped, like she stepped into a car and was gone.
So this is the really crucial part. What she didn't take: her purse, her keys, her wallet, all still there. But even more telling, every single pair of her shoes was still in the house. The only thing gone was the nightgown she'd been wearing. I mean, this paints a really clear picture, right? This was not someone who planned on going anywhere. This was someone who was taken.
Now, you might find this hard to believe, but the police's first theory was that she just ran off. I mean, think about that for a second. A woman deciding to run off, barefoot, in just a nightgown, in the middle of nowhere, Missouri. The evidence was practically screaming foul play right from the start.
And the case just got weirder from there. Sometime later, a man called in a tip. He said he got a flat tire near an old abandoned church, heard a loud bang, and when he went to check it out, he saw a naked woman run out the back. Police looked into it, but like so many things in this case, the lead just went cold.
This next case, honestly, it might be the most disturbing of all. In 1998, a woman named Diane Ogget vanished from Hudson, Florida. But unlike the others, she didn't just disappear. She left this horrifying, bizarre trail of clues that has just completely stumped investigators for decades. Just look at this sequence of events. First, this terrifying voicemail. A few days later, her severed finger is just found on the side of a highway. Then, a bag of her clothes, all neatly folded, shows up in a convenience store's outdoor freezer. And then 2 years after that, a bag with her toiletries appears at a totally different store. It's a trail of evidence that makes absolutely zero sense. So this is what her mother heard on that voicemail. The sounds of a struggle, and then Diane's voice, clear as day, saying, "Hey, give me up." Then the call ended. The caller ID showed the name Starlight, but that lead apparently went nowhere.
It was the last time anyone ever heard her voice.
So, there are two main theories here. One is a straightforward kidnapping, which the voicemail seems to support. But why leave the finger? It doesn't track. The other theory is that it was a drug dispute. Apparently in that area, finger chopping was a known punishment for people who owed money. That might explain the finger, but it does absolutely nothing to explain the clothes in the freezer or the toiletries that showed up years later. Neither theory fits all the pieces.
The cases we've just seen are so haunting because of their strange, illogical clues. But you know, there's another kind of mystery that's just as bone-chilling, when there are no clues at all. Let's run through a few people who just vanished, leaving behind this profound, empty silence. First up is Robert Turner. Back in '99, he told his brother he was leaving Las Vegas and heading out into the empty expanse of Death Valley to go meet up with some friends. He actually left some tools with his brother, saying he'd be back soon for a job they had lined up. He never came back. And what makes this case even harder is that his brother, for whatever reason, waited 9 months to report him missing. By then, any trail that might have existed was long gone. Then you have the case of Elmer Booth, an 81-year-old man from the small mining town of Colfax, California. He was a creature of habit, known by everyone for his daily walks. And one day in 1993, that routine just stopped. Elmer was gone. He had no living family to push for answers or to keep his memory in the public eye, so his case went cold almost the minute it was opened.
And finally, there's the incredibly tragic story of John Thrasher. He was a former high school basketball star in Tennessee who, after getting in with a rough crowd, just disappeared in 2004, leaving his family absolutely desperate.
Years later, a jailhouse informant gave them a false tip, saying John's body was at the bottom of a 160-foot sinkhole. During the incredibly dangerous search that followed, a deputy named Chad Pritchard tragically fell to his death. The search for John Thrasher not only turned up nothing, it ended up costing another life.
And this really gets to the core of it all. Beyond the weird clues and the completely cold trails, you have cases like Peter Romano. He vanished in 2016, and the FBI has almost nothing. All the public has is a name and a single grainy DMV photo. It just leaves you with this really unsettling thought. Whether it's a case with too many bizarre clues or a case with no clues at all, the result is the same. A person is just gone. So are they all just victims of incredibly complex, unsolved crimes? Or is it possible they found some tear in the fabric of the world and for a split second simply glitched out of our reality?